Welcome to the Building Interest Podcast presented by Leader Bank. In Season 2 of our podcast, we will be exploring what it means to be a leader through conversations with leaders from the bank, from within the communities we serve, and from across the banking and technology industries. Each conversation will focus on our guest's personal leadership journey, as well as provide insights on what it means to be a good leader. In our last episode, I spoke with Leader Bank President Jay Tooley to reflect on our favorite moments of Season 1 on the Building Interest Podcast. We also broke down what being a good leader means to Jay personally and professionally, and touched upon what to expect ahead in this season of the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Paola Dutschmann, Vice President of Retail Banking at Leader Bank, and Cindy Perez, Project Manager for Leader Bank's Innovation Team, to discuss their personal leadership journeys and what it means to them to lead diversity and inclusion efforts at Leader Bank. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Greg, for having us here today.
Thank you so much, Greg. We're very excited.
Cindy, you're Project Manager for the Bank Innovation Team. Can you talk to us a little bit about what responsibilities that role entails and how you came to be in this role at Leader?
It's been such an interesting journey. I've been with Leader Bank for almost 2 years now.
So you joined during the pandemic?
Right after the pandemic, actually, yes. So I started actually with a different team. I started with the retail banking team. And I stayed there for, I would say, over 2-3 months. And it was very interesting because when I joined the team at the time, they were just launching the HELOC program and we were experiencing this backlog, right? So we had like many accounts that we needed to be open. And then I started like proposing new stuff. I was like, okay, don't we do this? Let's do this initiative. Let's try to streamline this process. And then I think my mentors noticed that at the time. The leaders, the leadership team noticed that quickly I was offered a new position with the Bank Innovation Team. And
now, did you have a background with loans or project management, or was this just kind of organically you were trying to figure out what worked better?
Yeah, actually, I am an engineer. My bachelor's degree, I am an engineer, management engineering. And I think I am usually trying to think out of the box. So I think that is something really good that I have. I'm always looking for ways to improve new processes and exploring like new options, doing research and optimizing resources.
And that got you invited over into the innovation team.
Correct. So I was blind. I was going blind actually. I didn't know when I was going to, when I'm getting myself into, but it's been like such a beautiful journey. And I think just loving what I do. I think it's just being so passionate for everything that I do is what brought me where I am today.
Right. And what could be better than starting a job, starting a role, and then sort of finding your way along the way and ending up somewhere where you actually like what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. So, one of my main responsibilities as a project manager is I am in charge of all these projects and initiatives for the bank. So we're usually doing research in new products, implementing new projects. So I'm, in charge of the planning, execution, and monitoring of any projects. Usually I am focusing on the consumer side. So I am supporting for different teams at Leader Bank, the electronic banking team, which is our contact center, loan servicing, deposit operations, and also retail banking. So I work alongside a lot with Paola, and we're just working constantly on this continuous improvement because there is always room to improve.
So great intro. We'll bring in Paola here then. You were recently promoted to VP of Retail Banking. Congratulations. Tell us a little bit about that accomplishment and how you got there and what that means to you and your journey here at Leader. Did you come here with that goal in mind, or did you also start a little bit different and kind of work into a role that fits you?
Yes, I started completely different. I started banking around 6 or 7 years ago. I started from the entry level, and I make my way through it.
In operations or as a teller, or how did you start?
As a teller.
Okay.
So I started as a teller, and then in another bank, then I went from teller to a branch operations manager, to a private banker. So I studied my licenses, all that. Then I moved to do operations for more branches in a different bank. And then one day our now head of HR, Wes, called me. And that's how I started doing interviews here. And that's how I started at Leader Bank. And it was funny because I started working for deposit account team. For the deposit ops team. And I was kind of like a liaison between the branches and the depot ops team. We were doing a lot of operations, a lot of audits. I love auditing. So that's what I was doing with the branches, making sure everything was streamlined. And then pandemic hit. So I was able to move into other projects and start doing other things like the PPP, the commercial PPPs, a live chat. And then I actually started working directly with the.
So really a very similar story. Again, you kind of came from a slightly different background, and the situation you found yourself in morphed into something that was more fitting for sort of your skills and what you like to do.
Correct. And I think I love to learn all the time. I'm always trying to learn a different skill. And I remember I started doing a project management certificate, and I went over like a year and a half studying. And then I had my first opportunity when we developed the HELOC program, and that's when you came in, Cindy.
Yeah.
And the idea was for the branches to start opening these accounts, everything related to HELOC. And it's been a work in progress for so long, but it's been such an amazing project. And that's how we started.
Yeah.
So I think, a big part of leadership is to step outside of sort of the dictionary definition. And one of the things that stands out to me is really providing value to an organization. You both already mentioned the HELOC program through the branches as something. Any other thoughts on kind of some particular contributions that you worked on where you really feel like you were able to add that additional value that your role allowed you to contribute to the company?
I can start if you don't mind. I think there's tons of values. I think it's just not one that I really, really like. I'm very passionate. So I would say
that's a value.
Yes, it's more passion for the mission. Okay. Right? What's the purpose? Compassion for the people. That's definitely my go-to every day. Develop others. And I think the best one is humility. I had a really, really amazing mentor, my dad and my grandfather. They were simply amazing. My grandfather, he was an engineer, but he was always looking how to help others. And my dad, so he actually was the CEO at that time of a pharmaceutical company. So we moved to different countries. So it was basically, and I was an only child. So it was only the three of us, my dad, my mom, and me. And so we were moving constantly to different countries. And you could see how my dad, he was so amazing with every single person. He would remember everyone's name. He was so humble. It's just, he would never raise his voice. It's just the way he would talk to you. You just wanted to be like him. And I remember since I was little, I always wanted to be like him. He was definitely my role model, my grandfather, my mother. I think it's definitely my family. So I know you were talking about values. I think it's not just one. It's a mix of everything, right?
And really not being that sort of boisterous, loud leader, but really being that more quiet, introspective, understanding to lift folks up and be a leader in that way.
Right. I remember that when I was little, I was always like, Dad, I have this idea, blah, blah, blah. And I was all like worked up. And he would listen to me. He would never ever say like, okay, calm. Tell me your idea and then we'll discuss it. Never. I think he always let me be. And then we would discuss the idea after. But I think I was able to be who I was. And that's so important everywhere where you're working, right? Being able to bring yourself, be who you are.
So on that sort of, too, we're talking about leadership maybe that's outside of the printed definition. I was really interested when we talked the other day to learn that you guys started a book club in the branches. How did that come about? And not only do I want to know how it came about, but tell us a little bit about kind of the impact that that's having. Is that helping with teamwork? Is that building rapport in the branches? Is it a formal thing? Does everybody have to join it? Is it optional? Like, how does that work?
So it's funny. So we actually So the head of retail banking, Dorothy, she's my boss. We read a lot. We're constantly reading. And I think we had our
For work or just on your own?
On our own.
Okay.
Yes, but we normally share books. Gotcha. So we had our mini book club. It was just the two of us. And we would always share it the next morning. Like, what do you think about this? And we had different like perspectives of what we were reading until one day we were like, why don't we actually start a book club in the bank? And right at that time, we finished reading the 21 Laws of Leadership. And it was perfect timing. And so we discussed it with other departments. At that time, it was banking innovation and the customer service team. So we actually made a plan. It's like, why don't we do this? It's optional, but what do we really want out of this book club, right? It's not only the exposure. It's not only that it's a safe place. You can share whatever you're thinking, right? When you're reading, you can see something completely different or a different perspective, right? So that's what we wanted. We started doing a book club. So I think we're around 16 between the three departments. And I think the most important thing is that there's no leaders. No one is a leader, is not like I run every single agenda. No, you get the chance to be a leader every time.
Yeah. So it's a very informal sort of collaborative.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. But you actually do your homework. We know what we need to read. The person who's going to be in charge, we know in advance. You create an agenda.
You meet regularly. There's an expectation, but then but it's still ultimately optional. And or is it a requirement if you're in the branches to join this book club, or just if you want to participate and develop sort of these qualities and read books and have that leadership opportunity, you get to do that.
Right. And so when it's in the branches, we have this person that actually it's part of the book club, and he has developed this amazing leadership skills because of the book club. So he was in charge of doing the agenda. We all help, because that's another thing. We help each other, right? The main thing is, how do we help each other? Let's lift each other. Yeah. So he started developing this agenda, and he was part of the book club. He actually led that time. He did an amazing job.
I think the book club is one of those initiatives that we're trying to do probably bank-wide. And it's a huge opportunity to people that haven't had an opportunity to run a meeting in the past, because we have like different people running actually the meetings, and we just divided in different chapters. So we cover different chapters on each meeting, and it's just the fact that the person in charge needs to provide an agenda and just be ready to have like different topics to start discussing. So it's a matter of empowering.
But in a more casual way. They're not going in front of an actual business meeting where they have to have a certain thing. It's a more casual format where they can sort of learn how to do that and how to get comfortable speaking in front of the group and things like that.
Right.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's so tough, right? Getting out of your comfort zone. Just sometimes is maybe you were not in meetings all the time, and now you need to create a Zoom call for everyone. Like, how do I do this? But it's just reaching out to others in the group as well. Like, hey, can you help me?
Who picks the books?
So the first one, we chose it because it was the leader one. But now that we're finishing this one, is just
rotate.
We're gonna decide. We don't need to do leadership books all the time or business books. It's just let's just read whatever we want to read as a group.
Yeah. What I like about the book club too is that we are all sharing our thoughts. We're sharing our point of view.
Right.
We're just sharing ideas. And as Paola just mentioned, this is an opportunity to live each other, right? Because people haven't had some exposure to actually run meetings or doing book clubs or, being on a meeting with different people, right? From the bank. And this is such a great opportunity for those to be there and actually run meetings. And it's been like such a fantastic journey, right? We can see the difference now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, I want to kind of come back to something that Paula said a little bit earlier, and maybe Cindy, you want to chime in here too. I can tell just from your conversation that you guys are incredibly proud of just being yourselves. And I think that's something that, in my career, I've certainly encountered people that were in leadership roles or otherwise that were, for lack of a better word, just fake. And they weren't genuine and they weren't themselves. And it's much harder, I find, to follow when someone is being more obviously fake and it just doesn't feel right or genuine. How have you guys been able to just maintain being so genuine and to let that shine through and not sort of get trapped in that corporate pigeonhole?
Yeah, I can go. And definitely this is something that touches me so much because being in a different country is not easy. And as Paola mentioned, getting out of your comfort zone. Like for so long, I was trying to be someone else to try to fit in a culture. And I noticed that I was losing myself. I was losing my identity. That was not my essence.
And it made you less productive, more frustrated, things like that?
For so long, I was trying to change my accent, changing my, the way that I was seeing things, and even changing my food. And that was not me. I was like, no, this needs to stop. I have a daughter, and she's the biggest reason for me to be where I am today. And I think she is my motivation to wake up every day. And she just changed the way that I see things now. And when you go to a different country, you're leaving everything behind. You're leaving your culture, you're leaving your food, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your friends behind to start a new journey. And I think I started hugging my journey and being proud of the person that I was becoming. And I am so proud of the person that I have become today. I'm proud of my roots. I'm proud of my culture. I am proud of the way that I talk. And I'm proud of the way that I connect with people.
I'm getting chills just listening to you. I mean, I think that really it is fantastic because you want to grow, but you can't grow. And to use a terrible plant analogy, right? You can't grow if you don't have your roots, and you can't let go of those roots and to keep those. Now you're still up and growing out from there, and you're going to be a different person than if you had been limited to just where your roots were. But yeah, they have to go together, and you can't just give up one without the other.
Exactly.
Now, do you think, back to sort of business as well, do you think being genuine, the two of you, leads to better results?
Totally. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. I think for so long since I came here, I thought Paula, you're way too intense. Right?
Yes. I'm the intense one. Come on.
Well, can you imagine both of us? So I think I thought for so long, you're so intense, right? You're so emotional. And you know what? I recently have been obsessed with Formula One. And you know how there's so much into data, right? They lead with data. They make decisions based on data. Strategy is based on data.
Milliseconds, every tiniest little thing.
Right. And it's just the data is huge, right? You have so much data, you don't even know where to start and how to make a decision. But then you also have that EQ, that emotional part that you see the leaders, the drivers, you see everyone in the pit. They're waiting for something good to happen. If there is something bad happen, they get emotional about it. So, and they're so successful.
And they're all invested, and they're not shy about it. They're not fake about it.
Right. I was listening to this interview, and the person said there's not one person that works in Formula One that they don't love what they do. They don't love racing. We can't have people like that. So I think it's exactly what we want. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want in leadership. Yes, of course you need the data. Of course you need to make decisions, right? But you also need to have that emotional part, have a balance.
So do you think leadership is learned, or do we all just have it somewhere and we just have to find out how to tap into it?
No, I don't. I think you learn along the way. I was not the person I was 3 years ago. And I think there's a lot of situations in your life that shapes you also. I recently lost both of my parents.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But I think it was crucial for me.
In what way?
I just wanted to make them proud even though they weren't here.
Okay.
And
So
I
motivation, something adverse happens and you gain motivation from that brings out more of your own leadership skills that maybe you had all along, but you didn't put to use.
Yes, and I do believe there are situations in your life that you just have to. That's another thing, motivation, right? It's such a topic lately, and I think motivation is, yes, of course you want to motivate others, right? You want to motivate your team. You want them to be happy. That's definitely what we want. But also motivation is you. You wake up in the morning. You want to be better. You learn. You read a book because you want to, right?
Well, and if you're not motivated, who's going to want to work for you and be motivated?
Right. And I think that's a huge part of leaders. You lead by example.
Exactly. And I think also being empathetic, not just putting yourself in someone else's shoes, but be empathetic and say, hey, I feel what you're feeling. I am here to help you. I want to lift you.
Right.
I'm going to give you my hand. And holding others accountable. So I think that is huge. As Paola just mentioned, like motivation, but being able to inspire others with either your stories, with either mentorship, with either the way that you talk, with just small little things. Those small little wins is what is going to make a great leader.
Goes back to something Paula said earlier about her dad, and I don't know if it was intentional or if it was just his personality, but the way he would lift you up without you really feeling like he was lifting you up, like it was just an organic thing that happened, as opposed to, all right, Paula, sit down, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
Right? It's a very different way of leading a person along.
Yes. I don't know. I think it was his personality. My grandfather was like that too. I don't know if I can mention it here too, but I had this lovely story. And I think every time when someone asked me, go to your happy place, I would definitely go when I was 5 or 6 years old. And we were living in a different country, so I would spend summers with my grandparents. And since early morning, I think the first thing we would listen was classical music. So we were listening to opera the entire morning, and then he was always reading. So it was just a must. So we would read before breakfast, and then after breakfast, we would read again, and then we would discuss what we were reading. We were so little.
So you were in a book club when you were 5 or 6 years old.
Yes.
See? It all comes together.
Yeah. And drinking tea. That's why I love tea so much.
So I want to bring us back to, we're obviously here talking about leadership, but the reason that you both are here specifically today is that you are part of, or started, the diversity and inclusion group at Leader Bank. So I want to hear a little bit about that. What was the inspiration for that, and how really that whole group came to be, and where you're going with that?
That group, I think, is fantastic. I think is literally a safe place. And it's something that we've been working so hard. We have 3 different pillars on the group. We have the culture pillar, we have the community pillar, and we also have the
development
career pillar. And it's just fantastic to see many ideas for people from many different countries. It's beautiful how everything is coming together, how we are just cross-referencing from previous experience that we had, from for everything that we're living right now. And it's just, I mean, the whole mission of this group is actually embrace the culture, the diversity, the equity, and being inclusive, create awareness across the bank.
How many people are in the group now?
We are like 8.
8.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 8, yes. I think at first, it was just understanding what diversity and inclusion means.
Okay.
Right? Because, like I said, I think diversity is
What does it mean, in your opinion?
I think it's so diversity is not only being different. It's just understanding we are all different, and that's fine.
So it's not just being different, but being cognizant of differences around you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, and also feeling safe. Right? I would say another thing that we're huge right now that we're talking is the unconscious bias. Look at the big picture, right? Put yourself in other people's shoes. What are they thinking? Why are they reacting like that? What's going on with their lives? Can you come to this place and be yourself? Like, bring yourself to the table.
So if you're a group of 8 in a company of over 300-400 now, how do you get your message out? Is this a group that's open to everyone? Are there meetings? Do you push out messaging? How do you include sort of everyone in the bank in this process?
So I think we're still in that process, and Cindy, you can talk a little bit about this too. We had all these ideas at first, right? And we needed to educate ourselves first. So we started meeting constantly, but we needed a plan. What we needed that foundation.
Yeah.
And a good foundation, because it's also a very complicated topic. What are we going to do if someone comes to us and talks about a different topic, right? What do we think differently? How are we going to address that situation? How are we going to make that person feel safe? So I think at first right now, and we're still in that
process.
That process right now, yes, it's just understanding everything. What can we talk? What can we talk? But most importantly, understanding what are the pain points. So what we did, just to understand what was going on, we sent out a survey to everyone. And it was a completely, we don't know who answered. We just know the pain points. What are they looking for? What are they looking out of this group? How can we help?
What kind of response rate did you get? Did you get a lot of responses, or were people hesitant to?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
We got around half of them.
So really meaningful number of responses.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. And so we're already working on an action plan on how to do that.
And I think we have enough data now because what we just started doing is planning our whole year around those results, right? Just setting goals. Okay. What every pillar is going to start focusing on. Before, as Paula just mentioned, we were working on the foundation.
Yep.
And because without a structure, you cannot do a lot, right? So, and pretty much we needed to just train ourselves too, getting more into, okay, what diversity means, what actually inclusion means, and what equity means too, right?
Right.
Does this mean that there are events or things like this, or how does the group sort of communicate out to the bank at large?
So right now, what we started is pushing out emails. But we created this amazing resource in SharePoint. We have a lot of information there that you can understand what we're doing, or if there's this special month or we're going through something, everything is going to be in SharePoint. We love that everyone goes there. We actually have a suggestion box that they can send like, hey, why don't you guys talk about this, or this would be interesting. And that's what we want. We want to hear from you, right? We're here for them. So we have that. Yes, we do have events planned for the year. We have several things that we have planned out. But I think what we did, and is very interesting, we actually did that with the branches as well. We did like a retreat just to do like a business plan for the year. Okay, what do we want to do? What are the goals? How are we going to do it? Per quarter, just be structured. I think structured is everything.
Yeah. And Paula just mentioned that we do have this SharePoint tool, and this is getting like bank-wide across the departments at the bank. And here in SharePoint, we just sharing this podcast, these cool articles, Harvard Business Review articles for people to start like training themselves, right? Exactly the same that we are doing on the team, because we want to touch everyone here. We want to get to every single corner of the bank and get their thoughts, their feedback.
So we talked about diversity and kind of defined that it's important before you even go along the way to define what diversity is and understand what you're kind of working on. Let's talk about the inclusion a little bit. I mean, you can't force people to like one another, right? So how does inclusion happen? How do you get that message to resonate across all the diverse folks we have at the bank?
We're still working on that. Because you're right. You can't make everyone happy. But I think part of this group is also...
You can at least make them be respectful or tolerant or things like that, right? Yes. As a starting point.
Yes. Actually, we're working on a training that's going to go out to everyone. And it talks about that unconscious bias, how to be respectful also.
And it's awesome. It's a training that we've been building for
Quite
a
some
couple
time.
of months now.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic because we want this training to be taken for everyone across the bank, not just senior management, not just the managers or supervisors. We want every single one to be part of this, to understand the meaning of this, and to be more than welcome to our meetings too.
So everyone has the same baseline,
And
then from there
opportunities.
they can decide how they
Correct.
want to participate. Does your group have a formal mission statement of any kind like that, or is it really just organic? You kind of are going where the pain points are and kind of change your goals as you go along?
So we do have the mission and the vision of the group, but I think right now we definitely needed that to understand what were the pain points. We don't want to talk about unconscious bias and then the pain point is something completely different, right? We're not going to get to anyone. So I think that's how we needed to start. And based on that is how we are scheduling this entire year and what we want to do. We're having guest speakers. We're doing podcasts. We have so many things prepared.
Do either of you do things related to diversity and inclusion in your private lives, in your communities or things?
Yeah, I mean, it's a plan that we have internally, but actually I obtained to be part of this PTO group for my daughter's school. And it is called Around the World.
Oh, nice.
And where you have the opportunity to actually present anything about your country. And I think this is very important for me because I want my daughter is 6 years old, and I want her to be proud of her roots. Right. And I think it's a very nice way to encourage her and the kids to be more engaged with the community and also understand that probably her mother, in this case, is coming from a different country, but I don't want her to get lost around the way.
And such a simple example, again, of leadership. No one told you to do that. And here you are making that positive impact on hopefully not just your own daughter, but other children that are going to participate in this, and they can learn from it and have their own stories to share.
Yeah. And I'm very oriented to kids because they're our future, right? Kids are the future. So I think
Well, don't give up on yourself just yet.
Yeah.
You're still part of the future too.
But I'm talking about, raising a kid.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
So.
My daughter's 8. I share a lot of the same sort of goals and paths and questions along the way. And how
whenever we
form
go
that.
to a bookstore, I usually go to this session that is about diversity because I want her to be engaged with that.
Right.
I want my daughter to start reading this type of books and say, hey, I am as equal as you. I have the same opportunities as you. So I want to create that awareness on her.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm part of this organization that's called Get Her There. And it's for teenagers. It's around the world. It's for teenagers. Actually, Michelle Obama is part of that organization. And it's about getting teenagers to have the same opportunities. Develop them, mentor them. What can I do for you?
And not just to even have the opportunities, but to see that they're there. I think that's a big part of it, too, is that people have opportunities that they might not realize that they have, and to be sort of shown that way to see where those opportunities are. So a final question for you both. Can you share with our listeners, and I know it's maybe hard to kind of just pick one on the spot, but who's a leader that had a real impact on your life?
I can start too. I can cry.
Well, don't all go at once.
I have definitely so many people in my life, but I would like to talk about Leader Bank. And that's one of the reasons why, why
How apropos.
Love working here. Since I started and since day one, I've been having these amazing mentors. Through all these 3 years, people that really shaped me, that challenged me, got me out of my comfort zone. And they've been with me every single day. And I'm so grateful. And that's one of the reasons I'm so loyal to Leader Bank. And I definitely think this promotion that we were talking about, it's not only me, it's because of them.
Right.
And
But it's a reflection of the whole, everything coming together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good days, bad days. They've been with me to this day. I still go to every single one of them. So I'm really grateful for everyone.
I'm thinking you were going to flip open a history book and drop some name, and you came up with the best answer possible. That's really great. Your turn to top that, Cindy.
And to Paola's point, I wanted to point out to that too, because I've came across to these leaders at Leader Bank. I started on a different position in a different department. And I think that mentorship and the fact that she was believing in me so much and she's still mentoring me, I think that's unbelievable. That's beautiful. And I keep telling her like every single day, like, I love the opportunity that you gave me because I am where I am because of the opportunity that you gave me back then. And
she's amazing, by the way.
Yeah. And the mentors that I have today, too. I mean, I have people from different departments that we have these outstanding meetings bi-weeklies. And it's just amazing how they are trying to take me to the next level when we have these random conversations. And it's just sometimes not everything about work. It gets something like personal too, or we're just sharing books or articles or stuff like that actually makes you think differently, right?
It's making me think that what you're describing here is not leadership as an isolated event, but as an ongoing circle. Every leader also has leaders that they look up to, and they had leaders that shaped them, and they had leaders that helped them along the way, and so forth. It's like a continuous line. It's not just a snapshot.
It's a continuous improvement.
Aha, there you go. Perfect.
And you know what? It's not, I think there's a little bit of a misconception there that a leader is the title, and it's completely the opposite. It has nothing to do with titles, has nothing to do with your position. Anyone can be a leader. Anyone can lead each other up. Anyone can be a difference in your life. And I think that's what we do. I in my personal Leader Bank experience, that's why I'm here. That's why I love working here. It's the people. It's my leaders. It's everyone. It's Cindy. It's every single person. We lift each other every single morning. Yes. Podcasts, books, everything.
Sharing articles. I just saw this.
Yes. I think it's definitely the people, but it's not the position.
Yeah.
It's the person.
And I'm grateful because I also have this mentor that she has shaped me so much too. I know you can do this. She doesn't tell me, but she knows that I'm capable of. And you'll figure it out.
Yes.
You'll do great. She's kind of shy and quiet, but I think...
unbelievable.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's the word. She's unbelievable, and she's very smart. She has her way to get to you, but very, very deep on you.
I think we both have like the same mentors in our life at Leader Bank, and I think that's the word. They're unbelievable. Everyone has a different personality, but they really care about you. They really know you. They see you who you are. It doesn't matter if we're intense or not, or passionate, or we come up with an idea every single day. Is you're in a safe place.
Yeah. And I also have this wonderful person that I was working on a past project. And I keep having a conversation with him, like a very random conversations. But I have learned so much about him. And not about him personally, but about his leadership style. That is just beautiful.
Well, I have to say, I learned a lot during this episode. I think this was really a lot of fun. And it's really interesting to me and I kind of had that moment a moment ago where I talked about leadership being sort of a cycle or an ongoing thing. It's not really a way I've ever looked at it before. And I want to thank you both for sharing all your thoughts and kind of leading me down that path as well and in this conversation and for making the time to be here today. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. This is
really
a
exciting.
great opportunity and thank you for thinking of us.
La verdad es que hacemos este podcast todo el tiempo, todos los meses tenemos un podcast diferente. Cindy y yo somos parte de Leader Bank, trabajamos para el banco en muchas diferentes líneas de negocio, pero queremos invitar a todo el mundo que por favor se una. Estos podcasts son lindísimos, aprendemos muchísimo, tenemos diferentes líderes y por favor únanse. Sean parte del podcast, escríbanos, nos pueden escribir en LinkedIn, en social media. La verdad es que estamos aquí para ayudarlos a todo el mundo.
Y estamos felices de estar aquí hoy y nuestra comunidad hispana, estamos aquí para ustedes. Como Paola lo acaba de mencionar, acá estamos para ayudarnos y para levantarnos los unos a los otros, para darnos ese apoyo que tanto queremos. Gracias.
For more information on today's subject, visit leaderbank.com. In addition to past episodes, you can also find our corresponding blog entries for more insights. This podcast is a production of Leader Bank N.A., Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC, NMLS number 449250.